Welcome everyone. In this session, I'm going to talk to you about our Coho Data storage solution. I'm Susie Vishwanathan. I'm head of products at Coho Data. Just a brief introduction to my past history. I've had several years of experience in storage. Prior to this, I was at VMware, and it was storage all along. So I'm happy to be here in front of you presenting about Coho storage solutions. Let's go through some of the details. I want to say that if you have any questions or want to reach out, feel free to do so after the meetings. We are all here. We'll be able to follow up and answer any of your questions. So just a brief history into our company. We are a startup. We did start around 2011, has had quite a bit of big progress in terms of funding, in terms of the maturity of the product as well. We have some real good background in terms of engineering experience and so on. So we have a strong foundation. We are going strong. We are starting to see a lot of growth, especially this year. We definitely are happy to be here talking to you about our solutions, and hopefully we'll get to hear more from you after this presentation. Let me first set the stage here a little bit. So having dealt with storage for quite a bit, which I'm sure all of you have as well in the past, you could tell that the transgression from where it started and what some of the influencing factors in storage are is well captured in this slice. Flash something is becoming synonymous and ubiquitous to storage. It's not going to replace hybrid anytime soon, for sure, spinning disks, but it is definitely becoming a predominantly storage deployment. Containers, this is something that is very near and dear to me in terms of just talking or just in terms of articulating use cases about it. But containers are here to stay. What use cases will that serve remains to be seen as time evolves. Convergence, I don't need to say anything about it. There have been companies who's made millions and billions of dollars just in hyperconvergence story. You'll see a little bit of that in our story as well, but I'll talk more about that in the ensuing slides. Rack scale. Now, rack scale is something you may or may not have heard about it, but this is definitely taking a prominent stage now that convergence is starting to evolve into something more. Most of my talk here is going to be revolving around the rack scale story, and I'll tell you what we mean by rack scale, what that means for you, and how our solution actually attributes to a rack scale story and the benefits from it for your data center. And then cloud, of course. I strongly believe that customers who have embraced the public cloud, they are going to be looking for easy, simple management between on-prem and public cloud. If you are in a public cloud, there are customers who are also trying to come back to on-prem and see how to migrate data. So this is going to be the next biggest wave, probably a second wave for the storage industry, I believe. Anyway, these are some of the things that have been forefront in our minds, taking this into account. And we want to say that we are not just a storage company. We do cater to the legacy solutions. We do offer solutions for legacy workloads, but we want to be able to say that we do more than that. And some of these influencing factors have gone into our thought process, and it has gone into our product as well. And you'll see as I talk more as to how that comes through. So here you'll see the building blocks for what makes us Coho Data, right? So let's take into account the context I just gave. So when we first built the Coho Data platform, scale out was one of the biggest things in our mind. And I feel this is one topic that is spoken the most but least understood by the vendors. And it's probably still a biggest problem in the data center. What is scale out, right? Defining that is actually quite simple. You start small, start with what you need, but have the ability to grow as you need and as your demands increase as well. Now, I'm not kidding, but everybody says they are scale out. Everybody says grow and pay as you go model. However, to truly achieve a scale out model, there are certain design and product decisions you would have to make. For us, that was a biggest factor, building the product ground up. And what do we do by that, right? We'll see how we are doing that by integrating with a critical piece, which you see here, which is an SDN piece. Okay? You've heard of SDS, you've heard of software-defined storage, software-defined data center, but we uniquely blend the storage attributes, the storage capabilities, along with the network capabilities. It is only by fusing these two together that we can actually give you the simple scale-out experience. In fact, this is one of the biggest value adds that resonates with the current customer base. There has not a customer who stops by and don't say that scale out is something that they don't need. They definitely realize the benefit of it. But in addition to the scale out, I'm going to talk a little bit, skip these two here and talk a little bit about workload unification. Now, what do we mean by workload unification? It's not only important to integrate across the different components of a rack. What do I mean by that, right? You just heard me say we combine SDS and networking. Those two are major components within a rack. But it is also important that by having this convergence throughout the core components, you now have the ability to host different kind of workloads. Different kind of workloads means different characteristics, different requirements from the platform, and then the good old argument about which protocol that a platform should support. I sincerely believe that there is no more valid deciding factor that is there based on the protocol, meaning before it used to be the case, even 5-6 years ago, a customer would say, I am only a iSCSI person, or I'm only a fiber channel and I want a solution only for that. Or when NetApp became big, it was I'm an NFS file only customer, I need only a file only system. Nowadays, that's not the conversation I'm having with customers. It is not a deciding factor. They are looking for a platform that will do just about everything. So that is something that's inbuilt in our environment as well. And let me quickly then tie all this together with our multi-tenancy. Integrating software defined storage and networking gives us the ability to scale out. Also having different protocol support gives you the ability to scale out the workloads that you can support on our platform. Almost naturally, you must support multi-tenancy. It is almost a given. It's not a question, right? You as a customer should be able to host different user groups and different workloads, all consuming different kind of resources all on the platform. And we have a lot of multi-tenant qualities as well inbuilt into our architecture. And all this combined with one simple management module. We have a really simple way of monitoring everything on a per VM level, which gives you that fine granularity, insight into what's happening into your system. We give you even metrics around the hardware and the storage entities. So all of that is tied in very well together with a simple management. Okay, so let's elaborate a little bit more on what I mean by scale out, right? So this particular slide shows you how we just built through by starting small. So one of the biggest thing I mentioned is with us integrating with SDN. SDN is an open flow. It is a spine leaf architecture. If those of you listening to this are aware of networking, you're a network administrator, you know exactly what I'm talking about. For us, integrating with that switches gives us the ability to span globally, have a distributed environment. One of the biggest value adds of doing that is you can scale storage almost independently of what's happening on the system. There is no disruptive upgrade. There's no disruptive scale out. Okay. Now, it's just what do I mean by integrating with SDN? It's not that we are just plugging in a couple of wires onto open flow based switches at the top of the rack. It's more than that. There is a bunch of intelligence that are running on that switches. The intelligence determines a lot of things for us. For one, it says where to intelligently place the data. You could have a single storage box, you could have 10 storage boxes underneath it. You could, the intelligence in the network actually determines where to place the data, how to spread it, okay? It also provides a single monolithic view to the client. For example, since ours is a NAS-based solution, we'll give you a single namespace. All the magic underneath it with multiple mount points, it's all taken care of by us. So there are several such value adds by us integrating with the SDN, but this gives you the biggest and the easiest way to do scale out. In fact, if you do Google on anything as to how to achieve true scale out, you will trip across write-ups and blogs that talks about how vendors should pay more attention to network. This is one thing that we have started off right from the beginning, right in the as a groundwork. So everything else that's built on top of it is much easier for us to achieve. Okay, so this combined with simplicity is what makes the package a very attractive solution. I talked about very simply as to what the visibility level is. So you see the point here about no LUNs, no volumes. This definitely catches the attention of many customers. If you're a traditional storage administrator who's been dealing with the EMCs of the world, the NetApps of the world, you're familiar with setting up LUNs. Familiar with if you're doing virtual environments, then you carve out data stores and then you expose it to your vCenter or whatever your management module is, to the vSphere admin. So for us, the underlying foundation was based on the fact that there's no real need to have this kind of a logical boundary in terms of LUNs or volumes, because our underlying storage just uses devices globally distributed across the entire cluster. When you add a node, that automatically adds to the capacity. So when you run workloads, what happens is, say you're running a file /foobar, let's say, and that particular file actually gets split into pieces and replicated and mirrored across the entire cluster. That is our biggest value add and advantage, because let's put that in a real-time environment. What does that mean for you? Let's say you are a virtual environment. So you as a vSphere admin are dealing with VMs. You then call on your storage admin and say, hello, Mr. Storage Admin, give me some LUNs, give me some volumes. But in this, the communication is going to be super simple. All you as a vSphere admin are going to say, Mr. Storage Admin, give me this much capacity, period. The storage admin is going to take a look at all the storage he has, and he's going to say, gladly, here is the capacity you need. Now, because of the way everything is distributed, replicated, mirrored across that capacity that you asked for, both your storage admin and the vSphere admin has visibility top to bottom for that VM, because that VM is the one. What is a VM, right? At the background, it is all a bunch of files. And what did I just say? The files would be spread across the cluster, distributed and copied. So now you have a VM visibility, which in turn translates into file visibility internally. So your storage admin sees the same VM you as a vSphere admin sees the same VM. We even give metrics as to how much that VM is consuming in terms of IOPS, in terms of latency, in terms of throughput. All that is shown visibly in the dashboard. Here, there's an attempt here to show you guys that VMs. I apologize for it not being clear, but you will actually see right here at the bottom, there are like 3 VMs displayed, but if you log on into our UI, you'll actually get a whole VM list and a dashboard of that. This is definitely resonated very well. There are customers who come to me and say, well, I don't really need to have VM as the fine granular metric, but guess what? You can do it for across a group of VMs too. I mean, see, if you are wondering, listening to me, if you're wondering, what's the big deal about not having LUNs and volumes? Here is one use case for you to think about. Let's say you want to replicate. Let's say you want to replicate a particular set of applications. You want to store them somewhere. Not all of it. Some of it are mission critical. You want to keep them around for a long time. In a LUN and a volume world, the way you do it is you replicate or mirror or back up that whole LUN and volume, regardless of what's in that LUN and volume. Whereas here, we offer you the ability to pick and choose which applications you want to back up. So that translates to a few things. You need only purchase storage to back up for that size of the applications you need to be backed up. You don't need to buy more than that. It resonates well with our story of scale out. Buy only what you need and grow as you go, right? That is one use case. The other use case is, let's say you are one of those customers who are hybrid cloud, or you just say you're a private cloud environment, you're a service provider. And let's say you want to back up or mirror across certain data. Again, don't have to worry about having that much size of a LAN or a volume. You need only mark off those applications that you want to be mirrored across, say, 2 sites or 2 clients. And you can always just do it for that environment. It is actually a very powerful way of controlling and managing your data center. I strongly believe, especially after having come in from the VMware world, I strongly believe that there will be more and more administrators in your environment who want to have this level of granularity and management. So these are some things that is already built into our system. It is our backbone. We truly have this unique value add to show to our customers. And I'll talk about this per VM use case in a context in the later slides as well. Let's talk a little bit about workload unification and optimization. Again, one of the building blocks for us. So I set the stage very briefly around the protocols. Again, I truly believe that protocols alone is no longer the decision or a buying factor. However, there is an immense pressure for vendors like us to be able to transcend across all different kind of workloads. And for us, it comes very easily. Here in this platform, you'll see that we have NFS support, iSCSI as well, and then this little elephant here. I'll talk a little bit about this. We started off predominantly as a NAS-based storage platform for virtual environment only, okay? However, towards the end of last year or so, we started hearing a lot of customers say, all I need is whatever you have. However, I do have 1 or 2 workloads, applications that do require iSCSI. For example, maybe you have a physical environment running Oracle databases, or maybe you're a customer who has Microsoft clustering solutions. That may not be your main set of deployment, but you may have 1 or 2 of those. There were a lot of customers saying, I don't really want to go to a different vendor and access a new storage platform for it. If that is something that you guys can give, that will be great. And that propelled us to actually say, yeah, there's a use case there. And there we have a support for iSCSI. So what is the use cases for it? If you're a customer running Microsoft clustering, Microsoft Exchange, SQL servers, Oracle databases, right? This is an ideal platform for you. You can continue to use your normal enterprise VM environment on the NAS environment. But if you have other workloads like that fit into the earlier use cases I mentioned, this would be a perfectly platform, a cost-effective platform for you to deploy block-based use cases as well. Okay. Now let's talk a little bit about Hadoop. Every time I talk about that, people do get interested, but there is also that question in the arise, what are you guys doing with that? So let me elaborate a little bit. For us, Hadoop is like yet another file system, meaning it is native to our platform. It is where we take, if you are familiar with Hadoop, familiar with analytics, whatever I'm saying should resonate with you. For those of you who are not dealing with Hadoop on a day-to-day basis, let me just set some basics. Hadoop file system itself comes with two core components. They are called the name nodes and the data nodes. They are nothing but holding the metadata and the data itself. Think of it that way, right? Now, in a typical Hadoop world, it is usually a physical dedicated cluster, okay? And the admin, who is usually IT admin, who is influenced by the data scientist, who's sitting there and figuring out where to run the metadata, where to run the data nodes. It is unnecessary. We do all that automatically across the entire cluster, okay? But what this means is, if you have, say, batch mode processing you want to do, let's say you're in the health industry, let's say you want to analyze patient records, you want to see patient records with these symptoms, you want to draw an analysis out of it and then say, based on this analysis, I can treat the next patient quicker and faster, right? This serves a good platform for you. Why? Because it comes with the goodness of enterprise storage. So it can act as your repository, okay? Giving HDFS on top of it allows you to run analytics as and when you need it without having to worry about setting up a separate cluster for Hadoop, setting up a physical environment, a completely new skill set needed. Nothing is needed. In fact, you can repurpose your admins just to run the analytics. Okay, so this is all. If you've been noticing what I've been saying, it's all about a couple of things: how to maximize utilization of the investment you have made. You have this huge, dense storage platform sitting. How do you use it? Here are all the different menu and a la carte that we are offering you. And at the same time, it's about consolidation. You don't want a sprawled data center. You want to be periodically thinking about how to concisely bring them all together. This also offers you that. The third thing is it bridges the gap between legacy environment and the newer age environments. Okay. A few more good stuff. Talked about multi-tenancy, right? This is something that we recently have had enormous success in getting customers up to us and talk about it. Multi-tenancy and QoS policies. Now, I've seen a lot of people combine both multi-tenancy and quality of service. They are not necessarily the same. Multi-tenancy means how do you segregate and isolate resources for different users and user groups. Quality of service is about automated decision provisioning, decision-making process based on requirements given by the end user. For example, what we mean by that is, because of our integration with SDN, you can segregate the network tenants for 2 different users or n number of different user groups. That actually segregates your compute, your memory, and capacity and assigns solely for that user group. We can achieve that very easily using SDN. A policy is where you as a customer can say, for this application, I need 2,000 VMs. 20,000 IOPS, I'm sorry. That is a performance characteristics that is assigned to that particular VM. We allow you to do that as well. You can say, I want a maximum of 1,000 IOPS for a particular VM. That means you can go up to 1,000 VMs, but no more. Why would you want that environment? You want a stable, well-balanced, well-utilized environment. You do end up with some VMs consuming so much resources that you'll get a hang situation, or you see that the other applications are not getting enough of these resources. This storage policy will let you keep it in a well-balanced manner. This is something that has been well received because we not only do it for VMware virtual environments, we support QoS on OpenStack as well. And it was a great hit at the OpenStack Summit. The OpenStack Summit is happening right now in Barcelona. That has received quite a bit of attention as well. So if this is something that you are interested in, this is what I would recommend. You come, reach out to us. We'll be more than glad to sit down with you and elaborate. So I wanted to highlight some of these fundamental aspects of Coho Data. Just as a summary, I just want to show that our underlying architecture is a distributed architecture. We don't rely on LUNs or volumes. We actually split a particular file across the entire cluster and replicate it automatically. Our biggest value adds or scale out by integrating with SDN, simple management. We have different kind of multiple workloads that can be run on the platform, and of course we have the ability to host multiple tenants with different resource requirements, and you can also do intelligent provisioning by using storage policies. So with that, I'll conclude my session. Thank you very much for giving me an opportunity to talk to you, and thank you for listening. Please feel free to reach out to me or to Deltaware. They are our biggest partners here. I'm so glad they gave us the opportunity to come out here and talk to you. We'll be more than glad to set up meetings with you guys and talk to you about our product. Thank you. Thank you.